Donald Trump just now was too weak to stand. He had trouble speaking, and this is during a health announcement that him, RFK Jr., and Dr. Oz, like the three horsemen of the apocalypse, were making around health. I have those clips coming up for you, and Dr. Oz, as I said, was there, and he said this about American babies. But before we get to that, if you could please hit like on this video, and if you're not subscribed, please consider subscribing. We're literally thousands away from 1 million subscribers, and you could help us get there very quickly. Thanks. Now let's get to this.
Americans. Now, I know what you're all thinking, and you're probably right. There are going to be a lot of Trump babies. I think that's probably a good thing. But it turns out the fundamental...
What would a Trump baby even be? Is it a baby that cries all the time and has syphilis? Perhaps that's a Trump baby. I don't think America needs any Trump babies. Now, as I said, Donald Trump could not speak while at the podium. Here's a bit of that.
It's selling in Europe. It's Pergovirus. Pergovirus. And that's a sounding nice name. Pergovirus. Why can't you name them nice, simple names? Nice, easy names. Doesn't matter. If it works, that's all we care about, right?
Yeah. Now, just so you know, this is how these things work. Donald Trump isn't just reading what you can see here as like Pergovirus. What he has is he has on his script, they write it out phonetically so that the president never has to say something not inappropriate, say something incorrectly. But he still couldn't even read that. He couldn't read the phonetic spelling of these words. Because why? Well, we don't know why. But we do know that Donald Trump was in the hospital a week ago. He got scanning done. We don't know what the scanning was for. We also know that Donald Trump has a mark on his hand every 18 days or so. And now we're learning too that Donald Trump is just too weak to even stand. And here is that moment here.
So I'd like to thank all of the people that are here. And I think we'll start with Dr. Oz and Ms. Horn. We'll go through the list and we'll listen. And yesterday I did this and I stood for about an hour and a half as people spoke. And I said, this time I'm sitting right there and I'm going to watch you. I stood for an hour and a half like this. I said, you got to be kidding. Here we go. It was one after another. And it was wonderful listening to him. But I said, if I have to do this every day, Bobby, should I stand or sit? Thank you, Bobby. Please, Dr. Oz.
That is incredible. That is incredible. The President of the United States is too weak to stand during his own press conference. Let's just tell how it is. The president, now he tried to make a joke out of it, but what he's telling us is he is too weak, too old, too feeble to stand. The President of the United States can't stand for an hour and a half at his own press conference. Is the President of the United States healthy enough to do the work of being president? If he can't even just stand? I mean, I think we know that's true, that Donald Trump isn't doing much of the work of the president at all. He just really just uses the podium and the Oval Office to grift. And he doesn't do, we know that he doesn't really know what's going on in his administration. This is more proof of that. Now, Donald Trump's peace deal is also blowing up because of course it is, because Donald Trump, as I said, is not actually doing anything. Now, here we're learning that Trump is threatening to send American troops to Gaza, as he says this: if Hamas continues to kill people in Gaza, which was not the deal, we'll have no choice but to go in and kill them. Thank you for your attention to this matter. So Donald Trump here admitting also that not only is he too weak to stand, he also can't actually get a deal done. And this is something he really does very well, is that Donald Trump is able to get a lot of attention for something that isn't a for sure thing on this channel. I even said, I hope it sticks, but let's just wait and see. And now we're waiting and seeing, and we're seeing that the deal, who's surprised? The guy who didn't write the art of the deal, who can't get a deal done for his life, wasn't able to get probably the most important and hardest peace agreement to actually stick. And it's actually quite embarrassing for him and for our country that they're not listening to the President of the United States. Because why would they? The President of the United States has trouble standing. RFK Jr., not to be outdone in that same press conference, said this about our parents.
And that's bad, but also our parents aren't having children. Parents who want to have children do not have access. I have 7 children. I feel that God has blessed me with that. And
really hard to hear him speak. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry I did that to you. But obviously he meant parents aren't having children, but this is just more of an example that this is an incompetent administration. When they do have prepared remarks, this fool can't read them correctly. This guy doesn't even have prepared remarks, and he just is saying things off the top of his head. It's like a total example of that. Now, I gotta say, on the other side of all of this is Tish James, who is currently having to defend herself from attacks from the Department of Justice, but she's doing a great job, and here's what she had to say about that.
I would say what she said. But first of all, the decision was based on the Administrative Procedure Act, an arbitrary and capricious act by this agency, and an unlawful act. And so too is the indictment. It's baseless. It's nothing more than retribution. Retribution for basically doing my job. For doing my job following a 2-year investigation in a congressional hearing. It wasn't political. It was based on facts and the application of the evidence. And the judgment was sustained. The amount of the disgorgement was what was dismissed. But the judgment remains. And so at this point in time, we will vigorously defend those charges, those baseless charges. My arraignment, as you know, is next Friday. I visit Norfolk quite frequently. My family is in Norfolk. I love my family. And I will defend these charges. And I want everyone to know that it is completely baseless.
Of course it is. Of course it is. You don't want to tell me that, but I'm glad she's saying that. I'm glad Fox is covering that. It's important because it is baseless, and she will come out of that stronger than before. We'll see what happens with 2028 and 2026, but I guarantee you this is going to have the opposite effect that Donald Trump wants. He's raising her profile rather than taking it down. And I wanted with this because, as we've been talking about, the No Kings protest is on October 18th, just a few days. 18th, in just a few days. And Mike Johnson is terrified of it, and they've now rebranded it.
How does this end? I do think it has a lot to do with the Hate America rally that'll be on the mall on Saturday. You're going to have all the Antifa and BLM and pro-Hamas. Watch who assembles there. All the Marxists will be on the mall. They can't open the government, apparently, until that rally is over because they can't face the angry mob. So as soon as that's done...
As soon as that's over, you think that there is an impetus or a way to kind of break this by next week?
I think you've got at least, we just need 5 Democrats in the Senate to join and do the right thing with the majority of the Senate that's already there to reopen the government. And then.
So they're calling it the Hate America rally. No, we love America, baby. We love it so much, we're going to do everything we can to defend it. You're the ones, you might not hate it either, but you love it in the wrong way. And what you're doing is actually hurting it. That's okay. We're going to save it from you, and we're going to make it better for everyone. You're welcome. So I'll see you on October 18th. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.